Okay, it's time for a little recap, and it's not really a good one. So, it is 6 in the morning. I can hear the roosters crowing. It is January 6th, J6, never forget. And I have I have 19 days to make 3 looks for the Bad Bunny concert in Medellin on January 25th. I have obviously been procrastinating. I love that, like, in my video of like what I made in a year, I was like, oh, one of my goals this year is to like not wait till the last minute to start sewing like things like outfits, etc. for trips. And here I am. But in my defense, I have been in the middle of a move, so I haven't actually turned on my machine and sewn anything since October. So it has been a really long time and a really long move and process, and I just didn't have time, okay? And then I was gonna sew during like the holiday break, but then I got like super sick. Anyway, no more excuses. But I have very little time. I have to make myself one look, so I'm gonna make myself my concert outfit, and then I have to make an outfit for my sister and for my cousin. So all my friends are coming for the concert. I'm very excited. It is going to be just like the most fun ever. But I have a very little time to do this. So let's get started. I'm going to start today with my sister's outfit, and my goal is to have that done in the next 2 days. So by the 7th, when I can start my outfit, which is just a little bit more intricate. And then last but not least, I'm going to do Nat's because she's going to be flying in on the 16th, and I don't have her measurements totally correct. Like it's a trick. I'm making her a corset, so it's not the hardest thing in the world, but it is something that I just need her fit on. So I'm just going to wait for that for last. Okay, let's talk inspo and what we are going to be making. So when we were looking at what kind of vibe we were going for, we had a lot of different options for this concert. I think that the cool thing about Bad Bunny is that his style has like sort of, evolved over his last few concerts. And even though each sort of album and concert has its own theme, like safari or, really deep streetwear, etc., you can really wear any of those sort of like iconic Bad Bunny style looks to his concerts, and you'll fit in. I think that over the last few months, I've been looking online to see sort of what other people are wearing, and it's kind of fallen into 2 buckets, kind of like the tropical look, like a bien tropico, like tropicoqueta vibes. And let me just put a picture of what I mean. And then the other one is kind of like what people are calling Ibiza looks, which it kind of feels weird to call it Ibiza looks because it's like Ibiza is in Spain. It's like, a part of Spain. And like this album is like so solidly like anti-colonial that, I don't know, something about the name rubs me the wrong way. So like, I just won't be going down that route. And so anyway, so we were kind of like in these 2 buckets, but then we kind of started looking at what he's been wearing on press, what he wears at some moments of the concert, but also just the album itself, right? Like letting ourselves be influenced by the actual album. And in the album, there's just like such a core story of Latinidad and identity and that just kind of, I'm a historian, and so that kind of took me down the path of thinking through like there's like a song called Nueva York, like, it's like what is this? Where is this coming from? What is the history here? And it's fascinating, right? So I think that that's where the inspiration for these looks is going to come. And the history there is that, salsa, as we know it, is a very Latino thing. It's very Latina salsa. But when I say that, I really mean that it is an element of Latino culture. And what I mean by that is that, Latinidad doesn't really exist in Latin America, right? So yes, I live in Latin America, I live in Colombia, but you don't see people walking around here saying like, oh, I'm Latina, right? You see people walking around here saying I'm Colombian, or I'm from this part, I'm, Paisa, I'm, Rolo, whatever, right? Like they specify like what part of Colombia they're from. And then when you meet other people who are from the region or from Latin America, they'll be like, oh, I'm Chilean, or I'm Peruvian, or I'm, right? So like they identify with their home country and their home culture. But when you go to the US, right? Like I grew up in the US. When you go to the US, that isn't necessarily always true. Like while you might be like, hey, I'm Colombian or I'm Peruvian or whatever, you're seen as Latino. And so Latinidad in itself starts to morph into this new identity where it's like, you're not living in a Latin American country, and yet you are exploring or developing your identity as a non-white person living in the United States. And through that, you're also probably making community with other non-white people, particularly non-white Spanish-speaking people from other Latin American countries. And so therefore, Latinidad kind of takes on this life of its own. And that's what happened with salsa, right? So even though salsa, and there's like a lot of debate here, whether it's Puerto Rican, whether it's, whether it's Cuban, whether it's whatever, right? In reality, it's kind of all of those things, right? And it is like distinctly a Latino sound. And that is because in the early to mid 20th century, you have a migration of Puerto Rican people, Cuban people, even Mexican people on the West Coast. Like you have people who are coming into the United States, or whose land has been taken from by the United States, right? Like Puerto Rico is annexed, during World War I. And, Mexico, as we know, their land is taken through the Mexican-American War. And so you have some people whose identity is now being shaped on the territory that we now call the United States. You have migration from musicians from Cuba, etc. And they meet with them this culture of hostility in the United States, where if you are other, if you are Spanish, as they call you, or Latino, as we have come to be known, you are going to be ostracized from white society, right? And so because of that, you're going to start to join neighborhoods, or these communities start to build neighborhoods where the different types of Latino people start to live together, right? In these sort of like unwanted areas of cities like New York, where also coincidentally, Black Americans also have been pushed out to. And so you start to see these communities that become so ethnically diverse out of necessity. And a lot of the times, like there's a mix mash of people and cultures at the same time happening. There's like the interwoven culture happening at the same time. Then with the embargo in the 1960s, Cuban musicians are like kind of stuck in the US. They can no longer return to Cuba, right? And so when that happens, there is this sort of mishmash of music and like it's happening in New York. So like in New York, you have like a really bursting music scene, right? Again, because of this influence of Black Americans. And because of that, that's where salsa comes from. So when people are like, oh, it's Cuban, it's Puerto Rican, it's like, it's all of it. And it comes from struggle, right? It comes from struggle. And just because it is created in the United States does not mean that it is a United States product, right? It is instead a product of American imperialism, and it is a product of American hostility toward other communities, right? And toward particularly communities of color. So salsa has this like super interesting story, and that's like just like a really quick brief overview of it. But when you see that song on Bad Bunny's album, which is like Nueva York or whatever, like, and it's salsa, right? It's like that to me is like what was inspiring. I'm like, that is the thing that I am the most interested in, because it is it's like referencing this history, right? It's referencing this like really. In a lot of ways, it's beautiful. I mean, it's resistance. And obviously, in an ideal world, like the Puerto Rican people would not have been colonized, and the Cuban people would not have been displaced, and Black Americans would not have been, segregated. But these are the things that happen in American history and in world history that led to this sound that is so powerful, right? And so anyways, all that to say that our influence for these looks is this sort of like 1960s salsa, like really like look, like feminine look, because you know I'm making femme looks here, but it's really just this like flowers in the hair and like very tight and like flowy skirts and like really just like we're about to go salsa honey, and it is 1963 or whatever. So yeah, that's our influence. So given that, we picked out some looks. I'm going to sort of show you here on the screen my Pinterest board. But you'll also clearly see some musicians from the 1960s, many of them Afro-Latino. That's an important key piece here. And again, flowing skirts, like it's like you want something that you can kind of like pick up and like move around. And like I might actually make mini skirts because I'm going to adapt these. Like they're not going to be, you know, historically accurate looks. But that's what our sort of inspo board has looked like. And even though I haven't done any sewing, we have been pinning things to this inspo board all year. We've been really excited. Okay, so given all of that history, we are going to be making 3 separate looks. The first one, which is the one I'm going to start working on today, is my sister's look. She's an artist, but she also like just sketched out what she wanted. So like I'll show you the sketch. It's very specific. She's going the polka dot route. Polka dot also being a fabric that feels very of that time. And so I'm gonna make her a sort of busted, like with a like bust cup sort of corset. And then as far as this, I'm gonna focus on the corset. As far as like the little overskirt that she wants, we're undecided about that. I don't have quite the right fabric. She also comes the 16th. So if I'm able to find the fabric between now and then, I'll try to make her sort of like a little skirt. But we have a plan B. So I think that my responsibility is really to make the polka dot corset. I haven't made this kind of corset where it has like the bust cup and like the strap that's like very specific. It's like a 1960s strap goes like here, right? It's like you see it go from the neck into the side of the bust. And so I haven't made that before, but thankfully I do have a body form, and my sister and I are a little different sizes, but my body form is actually a little bit smaller than me. She's a little bit smaller too, so I'm pretty sure that I'm gonna be okay making this. I'm gonna make it just like a smidge smaller in the back so that like I can tighten it really well for her, because it is a corset. Again, it's a corset, pretty forgiving because of the grommets and because of etc. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. And then I'm gonna make my look, again, a little more intricate. What I'm going for, so I'm gonna show you my inspo picture here, is I want an off the shoulder moment. That's what I love about this era. Like 50s, 60s is like the like, just like prevalent collarbone moment. It's like these ladies were like collarbone out, tan, honey, like, you know, oiled up. Even though I'm like looking like a ghost right now, I will be in Santa Marta before Medellin, so I'm hoping that I'll get that tan. And if not, I will be in a tanning salon in Medellin because I will be looking tan in this look, okay? Don't worry about it. Now, one thing that I want to point out here is that I have never, so like looking at the inspo look, right, it's like a very simple princess seam top or whatever, not a big deal. It has a zipper. I won't be doing a zipper because I haven't learned how to put in a zipper, and I'm definitely not going to start now because I don't have time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use sort of like strings in the back, corset style, right? And then that, I think also we'll give it the like boom look, Vava boom look. But since it is off the shoulders, right, I want it to be flowers, like florets, like the florets here, right? Just like you see in the picture. I'm probably not going to do this color. I don't actually know what color I'm going to do because I don't know what fabric I'm going to use. I don't know what fabric I have. I'm going to go through my fabric stash right now and figure out what I should do. The good thing about the kind of vibe that we're going for is that color was king, right? Like you saw like people wearing like really bright blues and whites and like there was no yellows and like, so there isn't really anything that like is off the table. I've never made florets before. I did look at a few YouTube tutorials. It doesn't look like the hardest thing in the world. Final last words, famous last words, but I am gonna do it. I feel like it looks really cute. I would do the florets all the way around. And then I think that's it. Oh, how am I gonna make this? I'm gonna make this using the Daily Dress by Caden Naughton. I made this like 2 times last year, and it is just a very simple princess seam sort of top dress, but it's got the strings in the back that I'm looking for. So I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna extend it up a little because I feel like that one is like a scoop cut. So I'm gonna make sure that it's flat. And then I'm gonna obviously cut up the back, shorten the back, so that the strings are, like, you can still see your back, but it's like the strings are still there. So I'm gonna do that because it's already up to my like measurement, so I don't have to do any modification. I just have to kind of like, you know, cut up the top and like make the top be the same. But in terms of the pattern pieces, it's pretty straightforward. I haven't decided what I'm gonna do with the skirt yet. As you can tell on this picture, the skirt is attached through gathering. Like it's been gathered and attached, so it's a dress. There are pros and cons here to doing that. The pro is that it's just one piece. The con is that like I do tend to think that on my body type particular, it looks better to do like a flat or like tight sort of piece and then wear a skirt on top because it gives you more volume out. I think that sometimes with the gathering, it can kind of like fit like in a way that like it's just not, it doesn't look as good. So I am of two minds there. I think that if I were to do a skirt on top, I would just do like a basic tiered skirt. The one thing that I think is key here for my look is that it needs to be a really structured fabric because you want it to have like a little volume, etc. And then for my cousin, I don't know what I'm making because she hasn't really told me. I feel like that's why I'm leaving it for last because like she's like, oh, I want a corset, but she hasn't picked out the corset she wants, and like I'm just not sure if I have the anyway. So I'm obviously gonna make it, but I'm gonna give myself a little bit more time to figure out what I want to make for her, and hopefully then hear back from my sister who's gonna help me figure this out. I do have some corset patterns that are really strong, so I could always just like pump out a corset. I just like don't know which one she wants or what she wants it to look like, etc. So anyways, I'm gonna do that one last, and in the meantime hopefully buy myself some time, but it will be sort of of the same family as the looks I'm creating for me and my sister. Okay, so game plan again today is January 6th. I am going to start to drape on the body form for my sister's corset, and then I'm going to start sewing it up. I'm going to sew a sample. Obviously I have to. I've never made this corset before, so I'm going to grab like an old piece of fabric and make a little sample just to be like, okay, it actually fits, like it actually is like an article of clothing. And once I get that kind of fit right, I'll cut into the real fabric, which actually takes me to my next step today, which is like, look at my fabrics. What do I even have? Like, I'm in Villa Eleva. I mean, or like I'm like in the El Campo or whatever. So I'm like 3 hours away from Bogota. I am going to Bogota next week. So if I need anything, I guess I can get it there. But as of right now, I don't have access to more fabrics. So I gotta use what I have. I thankfully do have the polka dot fabric she wants me to use. So that's another reason I'm starting with my sister's, because I know I have the polka dot fabric and it is kind of like a loose fabric. It's like, I don't know what it is. I got it like off a store. I don't remember, like probably like months ago. But obviously, like you'll see the material, I'll show you in a second. It needs to be more structured, so I'm gonna have to do the base in like a more structured cotton, and then I'm gonna have to sew that one on top, which is not the end of the world. We can do that. So yeah, I'm gonna take you through the fabrics, and then hopefully, since today is Tuesday, which I do have to work, which is why it's 6 a.m. Hopefully, I can get that corset done in the next couple days, so that like by at least Friday, I can start my look, which again, I think I have a game plan for. All right, let's get started. Let's look at fabrics. Okay, so I've got this sort of blue. This is a cute color. I just like, if I did this, so again, I already have my sister's picked out, but if I did this on mine, I don't know if this is speaking to me because it's like a little, I don't know. This one is a little more, I think, what I'm going for. It's this like wine color cotton. I like this one because it's thick. I could see this being cute, but maybe this is cuter for the flowers. Okay, that's an option. I also have this linen that's like flowers. This is definitely cute, but maybe for my cousin. I feel like this would be really cute in like a corset and a skirt. Yeah, that's cute. Okay, I'm gonna talk to her. And this is washed, which is nice. Okay, I have green here, but it's too small a cut. I have this white linen. Okay, so this is the thing. I do have white, and the Inspo picture is white. So that's good. And I do have these other two. This is a dress that I like want to upcycle. And this is like some random kind of softish fabric. So I could make, like, these are the colors of the inspo picture. The white dress with the flowers or the florets in this color. Like, this is exactly like the inspo picture. So worst case scenario, we do have at least that. So that's good. Okay, let me take these 3 things out. I'm gonna take this out. These I'm gonna say no to. Okay. Here is, ooh, oh, look at this structure. Okay. Now we're cooking with gas here. Because I like this one a lot more than the linen. Hold on. Definitely not using that. Okay. Because that's got a little more of a cream color, I think, than the linen. The linen is very bam white, you know? Am I making this up? This feels very like almost blue white. And this is a little more crema, honey. So I think this is gonna be the base. Like, okay. I'm gonna leave this linen out though, because I do need to make a base for my sister's outfit. Okay. And of course we've got the polka dot I told you about. So that's my sister's polka dot. This is really cute. I bought this like a while ago, but I didn't know what to make it, but I know polka dots have been really in, so I knew when I saw it, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this. So I'm glad I did. Again, it is a little not very sturdy, but the good thing is that I can just make a little base underneath, and then put this on top, and I think it's like super cute. So the fabric for my sisters, I'm like, done, score. That's nice. Look at that. It's sturdy. I almost feel like this might be better than this pink one. I'll probably leave both out because I've never, again, made florets, so I don't know if you can make them in like a sturdy fabric or if it has to be more of like a loose fabric. The tutorials that I saw all kind of use like a silkish fabric, silk or satin, but the inspo picture, like that flower looks sturdier, so girl. Okay, my camera died and then I had to go to work because you gotta pay bills. But that's okay because I talked to my cousin and I actually figured out what she wanted. She wants a red corset and a mini skirt. I do have this red fabric, which I don't wear this because it's just like too red and Republicans ruined it for me. So we're going to cut this up. She's really short, so this is good. So I'm only gonna use this for like the parts where you can't see. And then I have this skirt, which does have quite a lot of fabric in it. And so I'm hoping that from here I can take the pieces out for the front of the corset. I'm gonna have to line the corset and the skirt, but I can line that with a different color. That's not a big deal. I'll probably wanna line it with something actually a little bit thicker. So I'm actually feeling pretty confident that out of this set, I can get that corset and mini skirt. I'm also waiting for interfacing. As I mentioned, I am in the middle of the country, so I don't have access to things like interfacing, but my mom is coming on Friday, and so on Friday, I will have interfacing. That being said, I'm leaving the corsets and things like that that need interfacing until then. It is, by the way, Wednesday, so I have like about 2 days to work on my look first while I wait for that, because I did realize like there's no way that these corsets for them are gonna hold up if I don't have something to like fuse them, right? Now, I did find the daily dress pattern, so I'm gonna be working off of this. I am breaking almost every single rule when it comes to sewing. I will not be making a mock-up of this, and also, I didn't wash the fabric, but it is what it is. We're going for it. I never do it. I feel like I've paid my penance, okay? So I'm gonna start modifying this a little bit to see sort of what the pieces might look like for that top I wanna make. The other thing is, if you look at the inspo picture, the straps go up here. So the flowers go all the way through and it makes kind of like a square neckline. I want it off the shoulders. And so what that means is I need to make sure that the top goes kind of here. And then I need to figure out a way to make that strap go on my shoulder. What I'm thinking I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make an elastic strap. So I'm gonna make 2 elastic straps like that have like pretty thick sort of width that I'm gonna attach to the top. But because it's elastic, I can move it to the side. So that's what I'm thinking I'm gonna do so that this can be an off the shoulder situation. All right, let's get started. I'm not gonna film a lot of this because I'm on such a tight time crunch, so I'll kind of just be updating you as I go. This is also already gonna be a long video because there are 3 outfits to make. So anyways, see you at the update mark. Okay, update time. I altered the patterns. So this is sort of the side front. So ordinarily it would have like a strap here. It's like a, you know, the strap that goes kind of here. So I cut it and I made it straight because again, I need it to be straight. Sorry if you can hear the washing machine. And then I also lengthened it because I just don't know how long it's gonna be once it's sort of straight. And so I was like, let me just go ahead and lengthen it so that way I can cut it afterwards. So I'll cut it at the end. I also, and I did that for all the pieces. So all the pieces have been sort of trued or whatever that is called so that they all match in length and in sort of straightness out here. Not straightness, but I also cut the mane and lining. It's the same fabric, so that's good. That makes my life a little bit easier. I didn't cut the bias binding because I have a white bias binding here, so that's amazing. That saves me some time. So now I'm going to construct. I'm going to construct the dress according to the daily dress instructions, and then yeah, we'll see sort of where it is. I think once it's sort of constructed, I will decide how I want to attach the flowers. Again, I need to put like a strap. I think I'm going to do elastic, but I'm going to make that decision then. Thankfully, I have a lot of fabric, so I will be doing that, and then I'm gonna make this. So I feel like what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the base first. So I'm gonna make the top, the skirt first, then I'm gonna attach the little thing here to be like, what does it look like? And then I'm gonna start making the flowers. The good thing about the flowers is that I can sort of make the strips, and then because it's like a lot of hand sewing, so I figured that's good because I'm gonna be on like planes and trains, automobiles, whatever, right? So if I have to be like sewing hand sewing flowers right before the concert, like, it is what it is, but I can do it. I'm hoping I can get ahead a lot today because I don't have work today. And we'll see. All right, see you at the next update. Okay, here goes crazy. We have a top. You can see the back. It has to be cut. This part at the bottom, this back part was longer, so I have to cut that. I'm gonna leave it probably up to this length. So I need to like do a bias binding because I don't have my serger because it's kind of like in repair right now. I'm using French seams for the finishes, which is great because they look better. I would say that this probably needs to be ironed a little bit more here at the bust. I don't have a tailor's hand with me here. I do in Bogota, so when I get to Bogota, I'm gonna give it like a really flat, whatever. I'm gonna give it a really good iron. What I'm trying to figure out now, like I love how it fits here, right? I made this using a body block, by the way. Like that's why it's like so perfect to my measurements, because when I made this dress, the first time, the daily dress, I had begun to experiment with like body block, like based on my measurements, and it just fits like really well because of that. So what I'm thinking now is, okay, I'm gonna wanna do the flowers, but I'm like, where am I gonna wanna do the flowers? Like, is it gonna be kind of here? I kind of would like it here, but I want it to be like still off the shoulders. So, and also how big am I gonna make the flowers? It's like, does it cover all of this? Because that could also be kind of cute, because then I don't have a problem with the bust looking weird if I'm able to just like do something here that kind of covers the bust a little bit. So I'm thinking maybe the flowers are just gonna be a little bit bigger, like maybe that big. I don't know what my measuring is. I'm measuring tape. This is not like accurate, but let's say from here to here, that is, let's call it 30 centimeters. That's a lot. 30 centimeters is a lot. Right? Like that is too big a flower for sure. I mean, it would be really dramatic, I haven't even made a flower before, so I don't even know. But I'm gonna see what I can do. Like, let's say I can make some really big flowers that kind of cover all the way here. I still need to have the straps. I want to add some elastic straps here that I can kind of put to the side. Yeah, let's see. Now the good thing about where the flowers go in the back is that they will just go up to the side panel, right? Like here. This whole middle part won't have flowers. So the flower would just end here. That's what I'm thinking. Anyways, I haven't done this before, so it is what it is. I'm also wondering, like, now that the top is kind of done, I mean, I do need to sort of finish the bottom, is whether I want to hem it and make the skirt and then focus on flowers, or whether I want to focus on flowers and then do the skirt. I don't know. Maybe it's just better to get the skirt, knock it out, and then start worrying about the top here. Anyways, I'm gonna go have lunch and then sort of think through the game plan a little bit more and come back and decide what to do. Oh my gosh, it is so okay, I have had lunch and made a game plan. The game plan is as follows. I am going to finish this. I do really like the fit, so that's a win. I'm going to even it out. Obviously, it's like all uneven on all sides. I'm closing the raw edges with bias tape, and then I'm going to make the skirt. Like, let me just get the skirt done with. I am also waiting for my mom to bring me non-roll elastic, so I'm gonna just have the skirt done with like a gap to insert the elastic, but get that kind of done. Then that gives me like a little bit of time, because I feel like that's all I'll have time to do today. And then that gives me the ability to then figure out sort of how I'm going to make the top of this, because I'm like, I don't know, like, I'm like wondering, I'm like, how do I, like, I feel almost like I'm gonna have to put a whole panel on everything. Like, at first I was like, oh, I'll just attach the flowers directly on here, but then I'm thinking, I'm like, that's gonna look super weird, because then it's gonna be like the sides are gonna be kind of popping out, and then this is gonna be flat. So I'm thinking what I need to do actually is make some sort of kind of like piece of fabric situation that goes across, and then that's the thing that will hold the flowers, in theory, as long as it's sturdy enough. Like, obviously it would have to be like lined, etc., thick, because otherwise it's not going to be sturdy enough to hold the flowers. But I think that that's going to be the only way to do it. And then it would have to go across the entire shoulder, so I'd have to measure it really well, and on the back it would probably have like a flap when we get to the back part. So yeah, it would really only have to be as big as like up until the side pieces, because again, this whole part gets runched up. But I'm thinking that's probably gonna look the best, because then I would wear this and it would be strapless, and then that would go, like, my arms would go in there basically, if that makes sense. That's what I'm thinking. But anyway, gonna buy myself a little bit of time by just making the skirt, getting that done with. At least I know the skirt does not have any embellishment on it. It's just gonna be it's just gonna be a skirt made out of this fabric, a tiered skirt. I have so many videos on my channel making this skirt, because it's like my go-to tiered skirt, like mini tiered skirt. It's the same one I'm gonna make my cousin. I don't know, it's pretty straightforward. It's just like a tiered skirt, except I attach the bottom tier to the top, so it looks kind of like a little ruche. I'll show you the one here that I made for the Shakira concert, and it's like light, breezy, etc. So that is what I'm gonna make next, and that's probably where I'm going to close out today. So I'll show you my sort of end of day progress with that, and then tomorrow I will share with you what I do with the shoulders. Okay, where are we? It has been a week since the last video. Where we are is delayed. My sister and my cousin come tomorrow, so it is Thursday afternoon, and they will be here at like 7 a.m. Friday morning, aka 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. I have not started on any of their looks because it has been that kind of week. My mom is here, like, she's got me working, like, I don't know what to tell you. So I I did finish the base of my dress, so I will show you that here. That is done, thank the Lord. And so all I need to do is the flowers. I did spend an ungodly amount of time trying to figure out how to sew those flowers, and it was impossible. Like, I tried to recruit my family, it was just really hard. So I had to acquire them. Let me show you. Okay, more specifically, my cousin who works in like the world of manufacturing had to acquire these for me. He helped me, and he got me 20 of these. Okay, so these are really cute. You see? Ooh. Okay, so this is going to be all over the dress. I will not have time to make leaves. It just is what it is. But they're really cute and they're done. So these took like a few days to acquire. I have 20. I'm going to have to put them all across the dress. I did leave the dress in the house, which is a few hours away in the country. We're back in Bogota. So I brought a box of things to sew. Anyway, so I'll have to put these on there in the next few days when we go back to the house. So that still needs to be finished, but we're really close. Now, in terms of my cousin and my sister, I printed patterns. I think originally I was going to self-draft. Like, I don't know if like you want to run that tape back when I was like, I'm going to self-draft. Okay, patterns, honey. So I've got one for my cousin, which is probably the easiest one. And then I got one for my sister, which is a little more complicated because it's got like bust cups. So, okay, so we have a plan for my cousin. I'm gonna have this sort of skirt that I'm gonna cut and use. I definitely thought that I was gonna have enough to like make the corset and then also skirt, but then I'm like, that's crazy because I have to like line this. So anyway, I'm gonna just cut everything out of the same color and then try to like see what she wants to do, whether she wants to go try to find this fabric so that we can make a skirt, or whether she wants to make a skirt in a different color. I thought it would be cute to maybe do like a blue skirt and then we could do like a white handkerchief and then she could look like the Puerto Rican flag. Like, I don't know. We'll talk about that. But anyway, so I'm going to start with my cousins. I also then will just cut my sisters, wake up early tomorrow and keep sewing. I'm not going to try to get to the place where I have like the boning, etc. I'm just going to get it to a place where I can like measure it on them when they come tomorrow. And then when I'm back at the house in the next couple of days, I will put the boning in and then close it up with the bias binding. So anyways, all I have to say is I'm feeling confident, but I have a lot less time than I thought that I did a week ago. Anyways, if I seem a little manic, it's because I am. Okay. Anyways, see you on the other side. I'll let you know when I've cut this fabric and sort of the progress on how it's going. Okay, it's time for a little update and it's bad. Okay. So first of all, this is done. This is good. I'm happy with this. Let me show you. This is my dress. I still have to attach this sort of here, but I got these flowers. My cousin found me these flowers actually, and so I'm gonna use these all across. So that's gonna be cute. So feeling good about that at least. We've got one look kind of down. I have to hand sew this. I'm not gonna have a ton of time, so I'm probably gonna be hand sewing this like on the flight to Medellin, but whatever, like it's not that difficult. So where we run into problems is with my sister and my cousin's look. When I was in Bogota, as I mentioned, I had like very little time. I actually didn't even show you, but I ended up being able to cut the pattern. Everything is interfaced. I ironed on the interface and then I pinned everything. And then my friends and everybody came and I was like, okay, I just don't like have time and I didn't have space either to sew. So I was like, okay, we still have a couple days. We're gonna go back to the finca, which is where I'm now, and I'll just finish it there. Like I'll have it pinned and I'll just go like pump it out and be done. I show up this morning, or like I start sewing this morning and I take out my machine and I realize I left the pedal to my machine in Bogota. So I'm like 3 hours away from the pedal of my machine. Oh my gosh, I look crazy. And also need to finish these looks, right? So I freaked out. I was like, oh my God. But then I had like my kind of like work, like make it work moment. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to hand sew it. Like it is what it is. I'm going to hand sew it. So I started to sort of do that. I hand sewed it. So I'm just kind of attaching the facing to the lining to the interface. I went through and it's kind of like a basting stitch, just like a long stitch. I'm going to eventually use bias tape and then cut that part out. And the bias tape will be in the actual color red. I just don't have enough red thread. So I'm like also battling that. But anyway, I'm feeling pretty good about this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish hand sewing the pieces together, and then I'm gonna mark the parts where it's gonna be like where the boning is gonna go, so that that's ready, because that can take a little bit sometimes to just mark up the boning. But that part does need to be machine sewed, because otherwise it looks messy. And then I'm also gonna add the grommets to the back, because I have all the grommet stuff here, and I'm like, let me just get that done. So I'm gonna do as much of that as possible. With my sisters, we're kind of in the same place. These are all kind of smaller pieces. I'm gonna hand sew these pieces together today, so that when I get to Bogota, all I'm doing is like attaching it together. And then I'm also gonna try to find the back piece and put the grommets in that, so that that's done. So basically today is all about getting as far ahead as possible. Then tomorrow I am heading back to Bogota, because in the afternoon we have a flight to Santa Marta, because we're gonna go to the beach. So I'll probably have like a good 3 hours in Bogota to do as much machine sewing as possible. So I'm gonna do like the things that like are absolutely like impossible to do without the machine. But today I'm gonna like prep as much as possible. And so I'll probably, if I have time, start attaching these little hearts to this, or this little flowers to this dress, just to like get ahead. But regardless, it's looking like it might be a very big hand sewing endeavor as we head into Medellin. But whatever, it's gonna be fun, and it's gonna be fun, and it's one night only. So if the dress falls apart in the middle of the dance floor, it's what it is. It's still gonna be fun. Okay, I am done hand sewing the corset for my cousin. Ish, right? Like I still have a lot of things to do, but what I'm gonna do now is mark up where the lines go for the boning, and then I'm gonna put the grommet here, and then I'm gonna put the grommet here, and then here on this end. So basically all the grommets are going in, and then I'm making the lines for the boning. I'm gonna make sure that the grommet is low enough where it won't get in the way of the bias binding, because I'm gonna have to do that bias binding later. So just gonna try to do that. Oh, the other thing I'm gonna do today is actually make that bias binding, so I have that all kind of ready to go. I'm realizing I actually have a lot of prep to do. I mean, obviously hand sewing is slowing me down, but I actually have a lot to do. So yeah, okay, we got this, we got this. I'm gonna actually probably just finish up my cousins to get that done, and then I'll move on to the polka dot one. Okay, I did as much as I could. I made the grommets, I've attached all of the grommets, and it's pretty much ready. So I'm just gonna go to Bogota really quickly, draw all the lines, insert the boning, and then put on the bias tape. I made the bias tape, I just have to iron it. So I'm gonna have that ready so that it's just good to go for tomorrow. I'm actually feeling pretty good about this, because I'm like, okay, that's not so bad. I'm just gonna have to put on the bias tape, insert the boning, and that's it. Like, we're done. And then just like tie it up. So feeling actually pretty good about this one. The one I'm a little nervous about is my sister's, because there's so many different pieces. But I'm gonna be sort of hand sewing those pieces together. So like the lining, the main, and the interfacing throughout the day, so that hopefully that's kind of done. And it's kind of slippery fabric, so I actually do think there's an advantage to sewing by hand a little. It's gonna look a little neater. And then tomorrow I'll just be able to attach those pieces, hopefully pretty quickly. I think the hard part with that one is I've never made that pattern before, and I'm like wondering how to insert the boning. Again, I have lining and all that different stuff already in there, so I think it should be, maybe I'll just make channels, but there's a world in which I have to use bias tape. Now the good thing is I do have black bias tape. Hold on. So if I do have to insert the boning like kind of through the back, I can just use this bias tape and it won't take me too long. So anyway, I think that that's gonna be fine. We'll see. All right, see you, I guess, with the next update. Okay, it's time for a little recap, and it's not really a good one, so let's talk about it. I got to Bogota, and I was like super ready to like put the looks together. I'm like rushing because we had like 3 hours before we had to get to the airport for Santa Marta. And I go to plug in my machine, but I couldn't like reach, because like I've recently moved, so I took the extension cord that usually connects my machine to the wall in Bogota, and I couldn't reach it. So then I went and I grabbed a different extension cord and I plugged in an extension cord into an extension cord, and then I plugged in my machine, and I was like, great. And I went to turn it on, and as soon as I turned it on, the whole extension cord exploded and my machine came like undone. Like the plug to the machine broke, so the connector and the like cord exploded. And I was like,
lead us not into temptation, but deliver us.
like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I couldn't hand sew that part of the corset because it would have been noticeable in the front. So I was like almost on the verge of tears. I was like, what are we gonna do? Blah, blah, whatever. So my cousin and my sister were there and they were like, it's fine. Like, don't worry. We'll find something else to wear. There was really nothing I could do. And it's just been like, I don't know. It was a little defeating because I was like, fuck, like I've been working on these. I've been like, and I also like was late doing them. So, and then this, but I just kind of had to take a step back and kind of think about it more like, okay, you know, the universe is kind of telling you that it's not going to happen, and that's okay. And you just have to kind of adapt and have fun anyway. So I kind of put the machine down and I was like, fuck it, like it's done, like whatever. And I know I still had to do my hand sewing of my flowers, but I was just like, couldn't. I was like not in the right mental space. So anyways, we got on the plane, we got to Santa Marta, we've been having a blast here, and I am still sitting on a completely white top and a bag of flowers. But I have my, so did you see that? I have my thimble, I have scissors, I pretty much have everything for the top. And I'm gonna go for it. So I'm going to the airport today, and I'm just gonna like start putting these together at the airport with my sewing kit. My one question is like, do you think that they're gonna let me on with the plane with this? I don't think so. I don't think so. They're very lenient here. You can take like full-size products, whatever, but I do think that scissors are gonna be like a no. So I'm gonna just pack these, and I don't know. What will I do with the thread? Maybe I should cut it. Anyway, that's my one big thing. I'm going back to the airport today. I'm gonna start sewing these by hand. We're 3 days away from the concert, so I think it's gonna be possible. I mean, it's gonna have to be possible. I'm gonna make it work. So yeah, I'll show you. Also, we're gonna go shopping. We're gonna try to find my sister, my cousin some looks. So I'll show you sort of our final outfits, or my final outfit. And anyway, it is what it is. Sometimes things don't work out, and that's okay. And I have to let go. So that's kind of like my New Year's resolution, is like, stop being so type A, you know? Things happen. It's okay. Everybody's okay. We're gonna have a great time. And yeah, it's only one night. So if the look, like if I'm dancing and the flowers are falling off, and it's, who cares, right? That's the attitude that I'm gonna have for the rest of this adventure. But yeah, excited to let you all see what it looks like in the end. Okay, the dress